Yeah, so next up is Professor Marja Kristiina Kerkkanen from the Department of Education, University of Jyväskylä in Finland. Her research interests are on the effects of teacher-student relationships, classroom quality, and environmental factors to child outcomes in learning and motivation. The development of literacy and math skills and literacy and math instruction in preschool and early years. She is PI of many research projects, including the well-known First Steps study, spanning the years 2006 to 2017, from kindergarten, from 6 years old, and now the children are 15, 16. I know you have funding for continuing up to the end of the upper secondary school stage, a very successful longitudinal study in Finland. This is a part of the teachers included here are, I think, part of those teachers who teach the children in this longitudinal project. So I'm happy to introduce to you Marja Kristiina Kerkkanen, tracing classroom quality and engagement teaching through observation data. And now we shift focus from the student view to the teacher's point of view, or the observer's views of teachers.
Thank you, Lars, and thank you for inviting me. I think that this goes very nicely. This is a very nice continuation for the speeches we have heard already today. And I have to say that this is not only my work, so there's a big group behind and involved. So there's 5 PIs in this First Step study, where we have been studying 2,000 children longitudinally in Finland, and their teachers and their parents as well. So it's a big group behind, and I just put some highlights to the slides for today. So my first part is about the First Step study and some results concerning about the motivation and engagement, and the observational studies in the classrooms. And the second part is about the interventions with the teachers based on the results we have get from the First Step study. So this is the picture of the whole longitudinal study. So we are following children's development of academic skills and motivation from the beginning of kindergarten, the age of 6, until the end of comprehensive school when they are 15, 16, and now, as Lars said, we are continuing as well. And looking how the 2 different environments, so the home environment and the school environment, are affecting the motivation and engagement, and also, of course, the academic skills development. And also how the partnership between adults, between home and the school, between teachers and parents, and also inside the schools between the teachers, are affecting to the child development and motivation. We have specific focus on the children with risk in reading disability, and that's a small group which we have followed even more closely during these years. As I told you, there's a big group behind. There's only part of the group, and 3 universities involved. The University of Jyväskylä take the lead, but collaborate with the University of Turku and University of Eastern Finland as well, because the data has been collected all over the country, and that's why it has been very fruitful collaboration with these 3 universities. And we have been very successful get funding for the project as well. The thing I'm talking today is about the quality of the context. So we know, of course, very well that the cognitive skills, pre-skills, are affecting to the skill development, and there is some characteristics from the child, family, teacher, and the classroom which are affecting to the outcomes as well. But here we are looking at how these are connected to the context quality and the home learning environment, preschool or kindergarten environment quality, and the classroom quality, the processes inside the classroom through observation studies. And how this quality is affecting, or the practices there are affecting to the motivation, engagement, and children's self-regulation, for example. and are these mediating the child outcomes later on. Here is the design of the study. So the first phase were the 5 years and the second one in the transition to the secondary school. So it's a cohort study with children born year 2000. The selection of the risk children was done when they were in the end of the kindergarten year, and we selected the lowest 15% of the children to follow them more closely, and then randomly selected from the same classroom the control children. There was group tests, parents rating, teacher ratings, individual tests of the children, and then the classroom observations in the classroom yearly, and teachers and parents, of course, had their questionnaires. When the children came older, they also had their own questionnaires concerning the motivation, well-being and engagement connected to their learning and school. Just briefly, that in motivation we are keen on the Eccles and the Wang ideas about the interest in motivation, and then Ryan and Desi idea about the motivation, engagement, autonomy, competence and relatedness. In the first phase of the study, we measured the motivation using 4 different kind of measures. Self-rating of the interest in reading, writing and math, and self-rating of the interest towards literacy, math, science and all the content areas. When the children were very young, we interviewed them, but later on they self-rated themselves. Self-concept of ability by self-ratings, again when they were very young we interviewed them, and the teacher and parents rating of task avoidance, and when children were older they also rated by themselves their task avoidance behavior in the classroom. What is quite interesting is that this is just an example that the interest for the reading, writing and math stays quite stable during the first 5 years. So from the kindergarten until the 4th grade, and as you see from the scale 1 to 5, it's quite high. Even there is a variability between the children, and there is children who don't like at all in the beginning, and they won't like that in the school years as well. But it's quite stable thing. When we move to the engagement, then we followed the Skinner's idea, the commitment and investment in learning and school life, and used the indicators of student engagement from behavioral engagement, the affective and emotional engagement, and the cognitive engagement. We had 2 different kind of measures of the engagement in grades 6 to 9. We call it so-called general student engagement, and we use Appleton's student engagement inventory with 33 items, which is focusing the emotional and cognitive engagement. But then we developed with also our own, we call it in-situation specific engagement instrument, in-situ instrument, which if you are more interested about the details of this instrument, the paper has just published in Learning and Individual Differences about the validation of the instrument, where you can find all the details of that. But we made our own software to the smartphones. We bought 60 smartphones for the project, and that way we went over that problem that not all the children had their own phones, or you can't use the phone in the classroom. We had those phones for the project, and we used those in our data collection as well. They rated the situation-specific engagement after the lesson, so it was not like Lars did during the lesson, it was always after the lesson, so 5 minutes before the lesson ends. 18 items, and it took about 3 minutes for children to make the ratings about behavioral engagement, emotional engagement, competence experiences, disaffection and help seeking. And the correlation between these 2 measures is quite strong and a reasonable way. The student engagement, the general engagement, is correlating between the academic outcomes quite the way we expected, and also with other motivational factors. Here is the self-concept of ability in reading and math. But when we looked at situation-specific engagement, there was the same thing which Andrew said, that when you look at the participation of the children, it's quite small scale sample, but when you look at the number of ratings, there's actually huge amount of ratings and data to analyze. This is from our doctoral student Sani Pöysä's paper, which is under preparation, under review now, and the results so far shows that the engagement varied depending on the day of the week. The way that it was higher at Monday, we didn't expect at all. It was higher at Monday than Wednesday or Thursday, but no other differences actually existed between the day of the week. Between the subjects, highest engagement at home economics and sports, but that's pretty much all. And then the academic achievement of the children, there was less disaffection with high achieving students, but that's mainly all. No gender differences between the situation-specific engagement and so on. So I think this was quite interesting, intensive follow-up of the one school week, after each lesson, what they think or how they feel about the engagement during each lesson or after each lesson. Then I go to the classroom quality. Robert Pianta and Princess Humphrey from Virginia University have put the quality to the two areas. The structural quality of education is usually looked from the curriculum guideline goals of learning and teaching, the training or education of the teachers, the group size or the classroom size, or the outside ration, and that is very easy to compare between the classroom and between the countries as well. What is the structure and what is the structural quality of the classroom or the school? But then when we go to the processes, that what is actually happening in the classroom, it's not so simple anymore to see what is the good quality. But in the idea is that how the things have been done during the lessons, what kind of pedagogical practices the teachers using, what kind of relationship teachers and students have there, and the students between each other, how the emotional support, including the emotional climate of the classroom, looks like, and how the classroom is organized, and how all the practices are organized there. And then, as the last thing, comes to instructional quality, the support for the learning. They have also developed a so-called class instrument to look this process quality. I will introduce that later. But in their studies, they have seen that both the structural and process quality are affecting the child outcomes, but mostly the structural quality is mediated through the process quality to the child outcomes. If we take from that process quality those main three areas, there's quite a number of studies during last 10 years they use that frame and the class observation measure, which shows that the high emotional support promotes mostly the social skills, but also academic achievement. Effective classroom management or organization is associated with high achievement and create engagement in learning, high on-task behavior, and social and academic competencies. That has been quite a surprise also in our studies that the organization and the management in the classroom is so nicely or highly connected to the motivational issues. When you think about that a little bit, then it's quite reasonable, but at first it was a surprise. And then the last one, the high instructional quality is associated to engagement and academic outcomes in many studies. There's of course plenty of observational instruments to use. The Eckers one is more concentrating to the structural quality in 1 to 7 point scale. The individual student instruction is more focusing on the individual child in the classroom. The ECOM measure is looking how much the child-centered, teacher-directed or child-dominated activities or practices there is in the classroom. And the class is looking in cyclic manner every 20 minutes what kind of quality there is in certain domains. So just some examples from the ECOM and the class. The ECOM is looking the whole school day or the half of the day, that how many % of the day the practices in the classroom were child-centered, which means how much active guidance and support, scaffolding of learning efforts and social ideas or social skills there was, how sensitive the teacher was for the students' needs and interest in the classroom. Teacher-directed is more based on the didactic ideas about emphasis on basic academic skills. There's structured group lessons and drill and practice a lot. Same task for everyone, and teacher is teacher is controlling what is happening in the classroom and plan it very throughout which way to go. Child-dominated is a little bit different. That there's little support from the teacher, and the children are more autonomic to do what they think, what they want to do, and what are their interests to make choices in their learning. In our data, if we look at the ECOM procedure, we have seen in the first grade from September until April that the better the reading skills in the beginning of pre-reading skills in the beginning of the year, the more child-centered teaching the teacher is using, and the more the child-centered teaching, the better the reading skills in those classrooms in the end of the grade 1. And of course here the individual level we see, as we know very well already, that the pre-skills are affecting to the later skills, the skill development. We look also at the interest, and we see the same thing, that more child-centered classrooms, the students were much more interested in reading tasks, the same game with the math task as well. So the more child-centered practices in the classroom was observed, the more interest children were in those kind of academic tasks. If we go to the class instrument then, as I told you already, the domains emotional support, classroom organization and instructional support are the main elements there. They are divided to the 10 dimensions. The emotional support, there is positive climate, negative climate, sensitivity, regards for student perspective, while in the classroom organization you can find behavioral management, productivity of the learning activities and instructional learning formats. What are this plenty different kind of, or how the instruction is formulated. And the instruction support focus mostly to the language areas, the concept development and thinking skills and language modeling, quality of feedback with the younger children. And the class instrument is modified into different age levels, so the older the children are, the instruction support is the area which changes most. So for example, in secondary school version there's a dialogic teaching included there as well, and problem solving and thinking skills and analyzing and so on. So a little bit different, of course, depending on the age of the children. And those dimensions, under the dimensions you find the indicators to look during your observation. And the manual says it very clearly that how to study the observation measure and what kind of behavioral markers you have to find during the observation, when it's live observation or you're doing the evaluation, the ratings from the videotapes. First you look, this is the low or mid or high level, and then you go to the more details about the quality in every domain. The group in Virginia, they has done a number of papers using the class, and all of them show quite clearly that the emotional support and instruction support make a difference in children's skill development. And especially when we are looking at the children with multiple problems in their learning, it seems to be that in those classrooms where the emotional support from the teacher is in high level, so the sensitivity of the teacher to the students' needs, regards of the students' perspective and the emotional climate in the classroom, then it seems to be possible that also those children at risk are achieving the same level with other children. In our study, we did in the first phase, first 5 years, observation in 49 kindergarten classrooms, and then in primary school in 32 classrooms, and now we are just looking at the secondary school data, and there is around 80, between 80 and 90 teachers observed in the secondary school in 7th and 9th grade. There's quite heavy procedure of training of the observers and how to reach the reliability level, which is high enough. We have seen that the correlation between the class and ECOM is quite high, meaning that the more child-centered or student-centered practices exist in the classroom, the higher also the quality assessed by the class seems to be. This is just a detail, but I think that this is very important to show, because not only in our study, but also, for example, in PISA and quite many Finnish studies, we have seen that the differences between the classroom are the smallest in the whole world, and it's quite difficult then to get enough power to explain the differences between the classroom because of that. And there's an example. This is very typical, that it's about 4, 5, maybe 6% of the ICC between the classroom, for example, in motivation or some skill areas. That goes quite the same way with all the issues in the primary, in kindergarten and primary. We haven't looked at in the secondary school yet, but at least in that phase it seems to be like that. But some results still can be found. If we look at the differences between the learning motivation in the kindergarten classrooms, we see that the less teacher stress and the better the quality of classroom organization in the classroom, the learning motivation is higher in those classrooms, and the motivation is mediating the phonological awareness in the end of the kindergarten year. And if we look at the math skills in kindergarten, it looks that the quality of instructional support is predicting the persistence. So the higher the quality of instructions and instructional support for learning is, the less task avoidant behavior in those classrooms are, and it's mediating again the better math skills later on. And about the social skills in kindergarten, it seems to be also that the quality matters. So the less stressed teacher better the math skills and better the quality of instruction support, the more empathy in the average level in those kindergarten classrooms you can find. Eija Pakarinen, who has made most of these papers from our group using the class instrument, has also looked the longitudinal effect of the classroom quality in kindergarten to child outcomes later on. And she found that the quality of kindergarten classroom interactions, teacher-child interactions assessed by the class, is still affecting the reading skills in the 4th grade. And it was quite the same picture when she looked the math skills as well. The quality of the kindergarten was predicting still the math skills at grade 4. We also looked at what about at-risk students, and can we find also in our context the same kind of results as they have found in US? And sort of, yes. It seems to be that the emotional support are supporting high emotional support in the kindergarten are supporting at-risk students learning in the 1st grade in the area of reading, and also the more reading activities in kindergarten supporting children's beginning. They start at the grade 1. About the secondary school, I just said that we are just putting the data together, but the pilot version of using the class secondary version shows quite the same thing, that the observed quality is affecting positive way to student self-rated engagement, but also engagement rated by the observer and by the teacher in the classroom level. So the conclusion of that those observational studies indicate that the association between high classroom quality and high motivation, and further between motivation and skill development seems to be evident. And in order to prevent later learning difficulties, provision of preventive early support as well as individualized teacher support and attention would be needed. We just recently made a secondary data analysis in our EU-funded CARE project using the 5 longitudinal data sets in 5 different countries, and we saw from there the main result was that in those contexts where the professional development was possible for the teachers, it supported the high process quality assessed by the class or by the ECHERS. And next I turn to the PD, professional development area. So the John Hattie put quite nicely in his book the meta-analysis of teacher professional development outcomes, and reported that most of those studies has reported some learning of the teachers, but less reports about the reactions of change in behavior, or even less changes of child outcomes has been reported. He also reported the most effective instructions on PDs, showing that observation of actual classroom methods for the teachers during the PD program is very effective. Also micro-teaching, video feedback, practice training, and training groups involve teachers from more than one level, while the lowest effects are shown from just discussion with the teachers, or teachers listening to lectures, or doing some games or simulations by themselves, and or doing some guided field trips, coaching and modeling, and production of printed on instructional material to read by themselves. So my teaching partner is based using the class and the classroom quality frame with Pianta's group. And in their paper 2008, they have two groups of teachers in pre-K. The other group used the web access activities, and the other one get also consultancy bi-weekly discussions with the teaching consultant. Quite important part of this PD program was the observation and consultation. So it means that there was some knowledge and expert support which was affecting the teaching practices, and teachers reflecting that by themselves and with the consultant, and that kind of circles goes many times. The result seems to be that the consultancy was very effective, that the teacher can discuss with the experts. It grew more sensitive in instruction with students, engaged students more in instruction, and improved the quality of their language techniques. And it was more powerful in high poverty classrooms, and it has positive effect to child outcomes as well. So we built up a little bit same kind of intervention study also based on our results in first steps, and we are looking the try to develop a teachers in service professional development program supporting teachers to use dialogic teaching, which is meaning participation in the classroom and engagement of the students in the classroom activities, and to analyze the impact of dialogical teaching on engagement. The theoretical background is based on the motivational issues of Desi and Ryan, and the dialogic of Neil Mercer and colleagues. There was two different groups. The other one with the 7 teachers with the older students, and the other one with 10 teachers with younger students. And the procedure of the intervention looks like this. So from the September until the January, and or from September until the end of April. But the procedure was like this, that there was always introduction of the some issues, then the videotaping of their own practices in the classroom, and then come back to the group session and share those best clips or best practices from their videotapes, and then get another introduction to go to the next step. It's based on the idea of knowing, seeing, doing, and reflecting cycle. So knowing what we need to do and practice, there was a video examples of that. Then they do that in their classroom, and they video recorded their own behavior in the classroom. And then they send the video to the expert, to the researchers who review and choose the video clips to share. And then they come back to the group meeting and reflecting their practices with the colleagues and mentor. Kati Vasalampi and Riitta-Leena Metsäpelto-Anna Poikkeus has looked at the data collected with that older children's teacher, and look how the classroom quality changed, and also how the engagement changed during the intervention. And it seems to be that the lessons seeking to apply dialogic teaching reach higher quality of engagement and dialogue as rated by the observer, comparing the baseline lesson and lesson during the program. But when we went to the students rating using the in situation engagement measure, we see quite contradictory findings. Promoting teachers' dialogical teaching practices can improve student engagement in classroom, but also challenge students. So students rated quite sometimes even less engaged in those dialogic lessons than in the baseline. But in the end of the process, the engagement also raise a little. With the younger, with the teachers, with the younger students, we have looked with Jenny Salmin at the growth of pedagogical awareness during the intervention, and it seems that the gains in growth of pedagogical awareness is evident, and the teachers' references of PD program themes became more rooted in practice towards the end of the program. And it actually means in concrete way that the pedagogical awareness started to develop from naive and dismissive discussion during the sessions to the intuitive and questioning discussion later on, going to the more reflective and analytic discussion, and in the end of the PD there was evident also the confident and articulative discussion with the colleagues in the group meetings. In the end, I was thinking that what might be the get home message from here, and it based on our own finding, but also the meta-analysis by Timberley and others, it seems to be that the learning opportunities for teachers occurred over an extended period of time. So it's not something you can do very fast. They need time to explore things and practice and get the feedback, and it's a process. And I think that 1 year was or 1 semester was quite a good time frame. But there's also studies where they have used maybe 2 years to PD programs, and they also said that it might be too short time, but it seems to be that it takes time to make the change. So even they make the change in their mind and the way they think about things and what they want to do, it takes time to get that in the practice in the classroom. It seems to be that the involvement of external experts in the PD programs is very important, and the PD deepen their knowledge and extend their skills in ways that improve child outcomes is very important as well to include to the PD. Challenge is the teachers' prevailing discourse and conceptions about learning, or challenging teachers how to teach particular curricula more effectively. For example, what Barbara Schneider in the morning talked about is quite a nice idea how to do project work in the classroom. So it's very focused and very modeled and easy to follow. In our PD, it seems very important that teachers can share their ideas, and they also how they feel about the PD, and what kind of reactions was evident in the classroom, and what they learned during the process. And it also, we don't have evidence on that, but it seems to be that the school leadership support for the PD is also very important, because there was differences between the schools, how they think about their teachers to participation of the PD programs, and in those schools where the head of the school was very positive and supportive for the teachers to join to the PD, the results were a little bit more positive also than the other schools where the case was a little different. Okay, that's all, so thank you.
Thank you, Marja, Kristiina. And time for questions before lunch. Go on, Marja.
I thought it really was, encouraging to see somebody, just also talking about non-significant or even negative findings of an intervention study. Now, what I wanted, in the first part of your talk, this was just findings of the relationship between the quality of teacher-student interaction and students' cognitive and motivational development. But what was that built upon was a unidirectional model of causation, right? Quality of interaction, teacher support influencing students' cognitive and motivational development. What about the reciprocal effects of students' cognitive skills, motivational engagement on teachers' interactional
Yeah.
and classroom instructional
Yeah.
behavior. And I mean, and if you then you think about reciprocal effects in the
Yeah.
classroom, this might also then build a bridge into explaining your intervention study findings.
Yeah, very good question. Thank you for that. We have also made a paper on that, and it seems to be that there's a transaction between the students and student achievement, students' motivation, what the teacher is actually doing. And it also shows in that paper, if I remember right, that the teachers are adapting the practices according to students' skill level and according to students' motivation. So, yes, it's a transactional process. Yes, it goes both ways.
Yeah, we'll go on.
I was interested in your use of Pianta and Hamre's classroom observation system. Did you find that it tracked changes in teachers' teaching quality over time adequately? And were you satisfied with using the video kind of approach to collecting those data?
Well, we have some critics to that as well, but mainly we are quite satisfied how it captures the quality of what is happening in the classroom. So, of course, it's mainly focusing on the teacher's role in the classroom, and not, for example, the peer relations or the peer learning in the classroom, not that way. So there's some limitations to what you can find from there. But at the same time, when you're thinking that how to use that concept or that framework in the intervention, the teachers, we are very satisfied that first time they have some kind of structure about the good teaching, and also the levels help them to think that where I am now and which way to go, what I need to practice and focus my professional development more. So it gives quite nice frame to start, I think.
You provided feedback to the teachers, obviously, as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.